At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Don't you think it's about time for a podcast that's more fulfilling? One that's about the vibrant exchange of ideas and perspectives that happens when we actually come together. We got you covered. Welcome to the Deep Blue Project, where the depths of conversation meet the waves of personal experience. This is a real, raw, and unscripted show about everything from leadership lessons to self-awareness, wellness, and the latest current events. We cover it all. We have a rotating cast of guests as we share our personal stories, insights, and opinions on the issues that matter most. Plus, we have a blast while doing it. The Deep Blue Project. It's not just a podcast, it's an experience. And now your host, Chris Workman.
All right, everybody, welcome to this session of the Deep Blue Project. I can't say how over the moon I am excited to finally have my buddy Rich on here. This is like a long time coming because I know he's had some stuff going on. I've been holding some stuff in, but you're probably going to hear a lot of that today. Look, we're just going to get into it. I'm going to let Rich introduce himself. He knows more about him than I do. Well, maybe I know more about him than he thinks. We spent some time together. We've had some great conversations, but Rich is doing some great stuff out there. And what I love about Rich is he's like me and like a lot of us in our certain circle, there's no filter. So Rich, just let everybody kind of get a little bit about what you're doing now and about a little bit about Rich before we get rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Chris. This is a long time coming. We've talked probably 3, 4, maybe 10 times to maybe get this thing rolling. I don't know how to introduce myself, Chris, to be honest with you, because I'm really not that important. I'm just a guy who spent, the fair majority of his life, whether it was the military or as a police officer in Norfolk, gave up my life for public service and, some of the things that impacted me, travel back to my upbringing in Boston. So I guess I'm one of the folks that Chris is alluding to that likes to stick in the spokes of this thing called wellness, and really kind of open up conversations that normally aren't being had. So it's my pleasure to be on, Chris. I'm probably missing like a couple of organizations that I'm involved with and all that stuff, but I'm sure we'll talk about those as we kind of make our way through the conversation.
Sure. So as Rich said, we're going to get into some things. Rich and I had the pleasure of meeting each other through mutual friends on down the line, and you guys know who they are. I talk about them 100% of the time. I always refer to these guys. I refer to Rich on these podcasts. And you see why, and you're going to find out why, Rich is one of them guys. Chris Scallon and Doug Monda and Raul and Survive First, all these guys, Lighthouse, the things that we all do together. What kind of brought us into this joining of minds, I guess you could say. Sometimes a little bit of crazy minds.
Sure.
We always have these things that this is a space that we know, and we're going to get in this because Rich, and what I love about Rich is Rich puts it out there, and Rich has written a few articles on this that, these guys have been doing this way longer than me. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I tell you guys that. 90% of what I've learned, I can relate back to these guys because I trust these people. These are what I call my tribe. They're my people. I know that they're going to tell me if I'm full of shit, and I know they're going to tell me when I need some freaking help because that's what they do. And that's what we talk about. But there's so much going on out there nowadays, and Rich is a big proponent of this. And we're just going to get into it right off the top because there ain't no use messing around about it. There's a lot of people out there who are claiming to want to help individuals that are in crisis, that are in trouble, and that are leading them down a path. And I'm not saying everybody, but they're out there. And these are individuals with Rich and Chris and Doug and everything that they do. When I say I trust them, like if they tell you they're going to help you, they're going to help you. Like they're not going to bullshit you. And that's usually where I'm sending you. Like these are the guys where I'm going. If I don't know I'm going to get you in touch with one of them. Are going to help you. So I like Rich to kind of come out and touch about that because Rich is a big proponent about that and what we're doing now. So hey, let it loose on him, buddy,
Yeah,
because I know you're itching and I'm waiting because I've read them. I know what's out there, so
yeah.
I'm all for it.
No, I mean, you're not saying that anything that I haven't said, whether in an open forum like this or on the trauma behind the badge stuff or any of the other podcasts that I've done. Being in the space for the period I've been in the space, we've seen it grow and for good. We've seen a lot of good that's come out of the growth. What is now, I guess, the public safety wellness industry. But I think we have to take the good with the bad. And what we're seeing, I think, a lot is folks that are maybe have identified or been diagnosed somewhere along the line, basically hurt people helping hurt people. And we've got to come to a point where we have those tough conversations with folks that are, getting in the space or want to become advocates in the space, just making sure that they're taking care of themselves. I'm an open book. I've said that I'm still on the journey. I'm nowhere near healed. I don't know if I'll ever be there, but I'm a whole hell of a lot better than I was a decade ago. And that's a testament to the people that I surrounded myself with, as well as some serious self-reflection.
Yeah, I get it.
But what I've seen and Chris, you've seen it here in the space as well, is a lot of people kind of coming in, riding the coattails of relationships or perceived relationships, and I think it's doing more harm than it is good. I think anybody that gets into what we got ourselves into, Chris, come into this wanting to help. I truly believe that, and I think it can kind of get skewed in a couple different directions as to what that why becomes over time.
Yeah, I think that one of the hardest parts, and you touch on something great for me because it is a constant journey. There's days when we have to fight through our own things because it doesn't just end. Like you don't just I mean, people talk to us and they're like, "Hey, can you help me?" Well, I can help you if you want to help yourself, and I can lead you to people who are going to be able to push you into a spot. But you need to want to do that. I mean, that's first and foremost. I mean, we have so many people, and I know you have it, and everybody else. We talk about it all the time. We get those phone calls like guys like, "Hey, I need help." Okay, well, where can I start? Like, what do you need help
Right.
with? Because that makes a lot of difference.
Sure.
I mean, and it most, I'm just as screwed up and was, I might know a little bit more now because I've learned and listened to things, and that's what we do and how
Right.
we get to that point. But I'm still nowhere there. So hey, I'm a starting point,
Yeah.
and that's all I am. Like I am not a fucking guru of wellness. Trust me,
Right.
I'm not.
Right. Yeah, the minute you say that you are, I think that's where another issue lies. Right. It's a continuous learning thing. Like there's stuff that I'm sure we were doing a decade ago that we would kind of look back on and go, probably shouldn't have done it that way. Right. So
Yeah.
if we're not constantly growing and constantly learning as people, then you kind of get to that point, Chris. I'm glad that you mentioned the wellness guru, because they're out there. They're all out there. Everybody's
Yeah.
a guru. Everybody is an expert, or everybody, what it claims, to be a, public safety advocate. And do we take a deeper dive into what that looks like? Like, where's the lived experience come in? I think that's what kind of separates a lot of, what we're able to do, at least in the group that we're associated with, is we've come from a couple different walks of life. There's at least a couple degrees in mental health within the bunch. There's lived experience across the board, and we kind of take that and take what we've learned along the way and just try to guide people to the right level of care that they need. It's just one of those things, Chris, that just like anything else in our space, we if there's a way to screw it up, we'll figure out a way to screw it up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this isn't one of those things that we can afford to screw up. You know what I mean? I think that there's a lot of good people doing a lot of good work out there, but I really wish the vetting of a lot of these folks that are out there, proposing trainings or whatever it may be, they're doing it with some semblance of knowing what the hell they're talking about before collecting in on an invoice so they can get to the next
Yeah.
place. But you and I know,
Yeah. I think I
but you
understand.
and I know that's not
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah, like that's another. I have a guy who called me once, and it's just freaking. I gotta tell this story. I think I told this story when we were in Boston, because sometimes you guys, just so you guys have a little bit of background, sometimes we do have the opportunity to kind of get together in the
Right.
same spot.
Yes.
Yeah, that's legends of sitcoms could be made there, but we would never record that.
No.
So, but I think one of the things that the people don't realize, and I think that's the hard part to try to discuss with people when you're out somewhere. And I just had this recently because I'm just new to this. Like I'm not, I haven't been doing this a long time. I mean, I'm kind of began the way everybody else began to say, I'm just trying to help somebody know that you're not by yourself. Like there's a lot of us out there that have been screwed up, that have figured this out. It took us all this time to figure out we were screwed up, number one,
Right.
and now we're just trying to figure out what did that mean.
Right.
And I'm still there, but I look at people and well, like, oh, are you? I had a guy send me a thing. He's like, oh, I saw you were speaking at so and so, and how much are you making? I'm like, number one, dude, it's none of your business. Number two, it's like police work. If you think you're going to get rich doing this, like, that's
Right.
not what we do this for.
Right.
Like,
Well, that goes back to the
we don't.
why, right? It goes back to the why, Chris. Like, well, why
Yeah,
would you take and pull from an already thankless job to walk yourself into an even more thankless job in
right.
doing peer work? Because at the end of the day, like our boy Scallon says it all the time, we'll never see the fruit of our labor, right? We won't see the seeds that were planted. We won't see it. We won't be here, and that's just the reality of it. But like at the end of the day, it's, it's not in me. I don't want to experience it.
Yeah,
That's for other people too. Raul says, make a little money, but don't forget why you're doing it. Make enough to
right.
keep the lights on, not to travel the country. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it,
You know what
right?
I mean?
That's pretty much it. But I think that goes back to, I mean, what some of the things that you're right about is we got to realize, and I think what upsets most of us when those things come out is the fact that like this is people's lives. You got one shot.
Mhm.
I think I listened last week to, I think it was last week when Chris and Raul and Doug were talking, and that's just, I think Raul and I had a little bit of this conversation when we were in Baltimore. Is you got one shot. Cops, we're freaking awful, dude. We give you one chance. And after that, like if you don't do the right thing or lead us in the right direction or try to bullshit us, we're like, fuck that, man. I'm done.
Right.
Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. And we'll use that as our excuse as to why we could never do it again.
Exactly. And then you just gave us an excuse to go, that shit don't
Yep,
work.
I told you it didn't work. I told you that. I told you that this was going to happen. Because we're the pessimists that we've become over our careers. You know what I mean? So like, if we could shit on it, we're going to do it. Show me the proof,
Pretty
and
much.
then show me the
Right.
proof, and even then, I'll still be skeptical. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's unfortunately that's the culture that you and I are up against, and trying to uh, maybe undo some of the mistakes that we've made. So the younger generation or the up and coming generation don't have to make the same mistake that we have.
Oh yeah, I can say for years I looked for that reason. Like I went to that therapist and said, "Oh, that dude don't freaking know a damn thing I'm talking about." You know what? I'll be all right, and move on. And we kept doing. I could say I kept doing that. I mean, it just led to something worse, led to something worse, led to something worse until I hit that wall. And I think that's what all of us who did this, because we're older now. You see us old gray beards up here talking about this
Right.
stuff because that's what we did. We don't want you to do that. Like that's what we did. We kept saying, all right, I took a few pills, I feel better, and you move on. But you're not helping this. You're not facing the situation that got you there in the first place. That's what I just never did. And to your point, we're still doing that. Like I had a conversation the other day with someone, and the one thing we're talking about is, once you took care of one thing, you're like, oh shit, then something else drops, or I could be sitting here having a conversation with you right now, Rich, and you mention something and it might trigger something I didn't even think anything about. And we all don't realize it's never over
Sure.
for us,
Sure,
but there
and
has to be a beginning.
I've absolutely stole. My kid runs for the University of Lynchburg, and their motto as distance runners was "suffer better," and I've taken that with me ever since he joined that club, and there's something to that. I think as I continue on my journey, that's what I'm learning to do. As I'm learning to suffer just a little bit better than I did, say, 10 years ago, because that looked a little bit different, less self-aware, less reflection, less gratitude, all the things that you learn over your experience in your own mental health journey. That is what is allowing me to not only grow as a person, but to suffer a little bit better than I did the day before. And if I didn't have those things in place and didn't have the ability to reflect or be self-aware, like, I would be a statistic. I mean, that let's
Mm.
call it what it is. And I
Right.
think, I think we're all, I like to think that we're self-aware, but as well as I do, what happens with us is we we gain this complex that we're invincible because
Hmm.
we're surrounded by the worst of the worst, and death on a daily basis, that you just think you're untouchable. And then, unfortunately, some sort of life event alters that. But I think for our space, Chris, I think everybody's aware. And I said this
Hmm.
on the last podcast that I did. I said I think we're a bit awareness out. I think most people in public safety, they don't want to be fixed. They just want the tools to kind of not do it on their own. I mean, and I look at therapy as a giant tool in all this, if it works for you. But at the end of the day, like, I think we want the tools in place. We want to know that the resources are there. We want to know that when somebody says that they're going to pick up the phone, that they're going to be there. We just want to know that. And I think if
Right.
we shifted our language a little bit into the stigma talk, or whatever's preventing you from reaching out for help, and we kind of flipped it a little bit into a more proactive approach, especially from peers, especially as peers, less reactive. Obviously, we're going to react to the hot calls, we're going to react to the critical incidents, but it doesn't cost anything to be a little bit nicer to people in the hallway, or taking that 30 seconds or so to have a conversation with somebody and build a connection. Yeah, I've seen Chris work at multiple events throughout my time, but it took a chance meeting and an introduction that led to a conversation that has led to a connection. And I still
Hmm.
think that we, as a culture, we do a shitty job. We celebrate when somebody falls all the time in this culture.
Right.
We're not celebrating any of the wins. It's easier for us to celebrate somebody's downfalls than it is to celebrate somebody else's wins. And I think if we're a little bit more self-aware of that, especially as peers, especially doing peer work, I think we'd be a whole lot better off.
Yeah, I think we are. I think you hit the nail on the head, man. We are horrible, horrible throughout our careers with lifting other people up. We're always, and I've seen that. I mean, a lot. And there's times I'm not going to say I wasn't one of them people that did the same thing.
Sure.
I do less of it now. I try to be better at that each and every day. And trust me, there's a day I act like a freaking asshole. Like, it just it
Right.
just happens.
Right.
I mean, I'm not gonna, it's not like I didn't wake up this morning and then flip the switch and go, I'm just like a totally different person today.
Right.
No, there's moments where I revert back to being a jerk. And but here's the difference, I think, for me, Rich, is what I've noticed is I figure it out quick enough that I go, shit.
Right.
Like,
Well, that's that self-awareness, right, Chris? Right? To
you
where
know,
to where we didn't really pay attention, because we really, honestly, I can tell you straight up, I didn't give a and I still don't to this day, but maybe a little bit more than I did. I really don't give a fuck.
right.
At the end of the day, like, I don't care. But it always seemed, when it came to certain topics within our culture, it was kind of like, well, we don't talk about that. We got to move
Mhm.
on from that. And I think if more people were willing to have difficult conversations, I think a lot of the stuff that we've experienced over a course of our time probably would have never occurred, because we would have
Mhm.
gotten the help that we needed along the way much earlier, much
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah, I think that well, I think the things that one of the things that have been easiest for me is And I think it comes back to just what you said, being self-aware. I know more. I can recognize more of what shit is now. Like I didn't know what it was then. I just thought it was just normal course of business.
Right. It's
I didn't
just
know
something
what all these
that's
other things were.
right. It just kind of. Well, it's funny you mentioned that though, Chris. It's funny. It's funny that you say that is because along the line, along the course of your journey, along the course of mine, whatever you want to call it, you got more educated, and as you get more educated on a lot of topics, you can tend to see it a little bit differently. I mean, and I think to my point is we're awareness out as a culture. Like, give me some tangible skills to walk away
Right.
from, and where I can start implementing small changes in my life and how that could impact my mental health or impact my relationships at home or on the
Mhm.
job. I think that that's what we're yearning for as a culture. I think we just want the tools to start the process, and if that process leads to referrals, whether it be for substance use disorder or going to a clinician on a weekly basis, whatever it leads to, it leads to. But we would have never got there if we didn't offer up the education on exactly what you're talking about, like depression, anxiety, PTSD, all the things that we, especially as cops, and I can only imagine as firefighters, think about all the mental health calls that we respond to. What is it about us that kind of separates everybody else? Is we see that up to tenfold than the general public does, right? The general public hears about a mental health issue, worst case scenario, right? We get to see it live and in color multiple times a day. So that becomes our perception of what mental health looks like. And that's what we're
Yep.
that's what we're that's what we're judging ourselves off of, is somebody that is
Yep.
at their literally at their wits end, right? Or somebody that hasn't taken their medication, or somebody that has had that, acute break. That's my gauge. Well, I'm not there yet. I'm not that bad.
Right.
And we do the same thing with substances. We do.
I'm not there.
I'm not there yet. I know when I got a problem, but I'm not there yet, right? And that's what
Yeah.
we do. Is
Not everybody else around you goes, "You got a
right,
problem."
right, right, right. Yeah, everybody's pointing the finger at you. It's like that the Spider-Man meme. But yeah, I mean, I think what happens is over time that becomes our perception of mental health, and if we're
Yeah.
constantly putting ourselves or judging ourselves up against that, we're never going to be ready to go talk to somebody. So
No.
so if the only education that I'm getting is maybe a 40-hour course in the academy or outside of the academy for mental health, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, it is a big problem.
that's a problem. Like the mental health aspect and the trying to fill in some of the unknowns, right? Like I can tell you that the job will impact you. There'll be traumatic incidents that you'll respond to, and you may or may not have a reaction to them. I won't necessarily know how it impacts you until you get a couple under your belt. But I think that if we can start to kind of change the language, get the education in early, get the education in not just attending wellness symposiums all over the country, but internally within your agency, some semblance of mental health, 101 or whatever it needs to be, and redefine what that looks like for us, because I think we have a skewed sense of what mental health is just based on our responses to what it looks like in the worst case scenarios. We're constantly, nope, I'm not there. I'm not running down the street butt naked. The little green people aren't following me. Whatever it
Right.
is, right? I'm not
I'm not
there.
walking around in the middle of my in my driveway thinking about blowing my head off.
Right,
Yeah, I'm not there yet.
right. I'm
Yeah,
just
I was.
right. Yeah, I'm
So
not there
I
yet.
got there.
Right. That's what I mean. So like I think, educating folks, make it a little bit more than awareness, getting it to be a little bit more of a proactive conversation. I think that's hopefully the next step in this equation. Because like I said, like cops and firefighters are aware. They know the numbers. They know that we're dying at a faster rate outside of the line of duty than we are, in the line of duty. So I think we're all aware. I think it's safe to say, but I also think that if we have that awareness, we need somebody that's at the helm, or somebody that is driving that wellness train for agencies to go, okay, we get it. Now we have to start like the implementation of this into the culture. Like it needs to be like an inoculation. Like you're going to get your shots, and
Right.
this is what we're going to arm you with as much information about not only mental health, but in the event that you have a crisis, like how are you protected? Our agencies looking at their outdated policies and going, man, I really got to fix this. Not only protect the agency and the city, but also the officer. More so the officer than the agency and the city,
Right.
but like make it to where, you know, not everything needs to be a discipline, but maybe defer it based on their
Mhm.
performance in a controlled clinical environment, whether it be anger management or some sort of therapy. You know, they upon completing that, you know, they don't get the day off that they were expecting. You know,
Mhm.
so got to think outside the box, especially in the 21st century. These kids are getting younger; that they're expecting a lot more from the agencies specific to this topic, and they there's not the same loyalty that you or I or any of the other guys had when we came on to our agency. It was that agency and that agency only. And I think that because we're getting younger, there's less loyalty there, and they're going to go where their grass is being treated well. You know what I mean? It's being watered, it's being tended to. And the minute that it deviates, they'll find another place. And they're not scared to do that.
Right.
And I wish, if I could look back 20 years, I wish I had the fortitude to do that. But I was just so locked into what I was doing that I didn't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were taught to just put up with it because it was a career for us. We were talking about that the other day. But I think that one of the things that I've tried to key on, even in the short time that I'm out there, and I've switched a lot of things going. I think I kind of saw that the one stop checking the damn box. You guys have checked all the
Right.
boxes. Like you have your EPAs, you have your I give you this, I give you this. Stop checking. Okay, you've checked all the boxes.
Now what?
So now let's alleviate the fear. And that's kind of what I've started talking about in what I say is like it's the fear factor that we had when because it affected so much. We're like, I'm not going through I'm not going to seek help because I might not get promoted. I might get fired. My people might look at me different. I won't have my friends are going to look at me and ask me if I'm nuts. Like
Right.
take away the fear factor. And I think that's one of the things that we're trying to look at, or even I'm trying to look at even in my own agency is like don't be afraid anymore to say give your people the resources, but also give them the backup that they're not going to lose their job or they're not going to be seen in a different light because they're saying I need assistance, I need help. The fear factor is big with us. You
Oh,
know that, Rich.
absolutely. Because
It was
what happens?
horrible.
Yeah, I mean, what happens a lot of the time is we are very well known to fill in the blanks that we want to believe. If Chris Workman tells me a story about how this decision that he has made is going to impact his agency, and I go back and I say, well, you only told me A, B, and C, but I'm going to take A and B, and I'm not going to tell anybody about C, then I've just created a toxic work environment. You know what I mean? I mean, it happens. It
Yeah,
happens. It
exactly.
happens all the time. Somebody walks in,
Exactly.
you know, sergeant or a lieutenant walks into a roll call, says, "Hey, we gotta, you know, this detail on this corner from this time to this time, you know, this, and this," and they leave out that you can drive to that location. By the time they get to the equipment room and to unload all their shit, the guy has already, one of the main senior guy has already said, can you believe that they're making us walk to this detail? And we'll
Exactly.
fill it in. And he'll have 10 people believing him. Well,
Exactly.
I mean, as silly as that story is, think about it from a mental health standpoint.
Yeah.
Think about it from well, I knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy who got some help, but you know they really stuck it to him around the time for promotion. They didn't trust him. You know, he was
Right.
he was unable to kind of perform his duties under stress. You know, we're gonna pass up on that person, and it's like, is that really the case? 9 times out of 10, it's not. Because if you go to that
Exactly.
person, they're gonna be like, nah, I just never wanted to get promoted, so I didn't promote up. Okay,
Exactly.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what happens with the mental health stuff. I think we kind of
Mhm.
get caught into our own. We feed into our own belief system. You know, we've created a belief system, and then we feed it what we want to believe. You know, um, especially when I was overseeing the unit as a sergeant, you would hear like, "Well, I heard so and so got help, and they got in trouble after. And I was like, well, let's think about it for a second. The totality of the circumstances is what it's called, right,
Right.
Chris?
Right.
I
Exactly.
haven't forgotten. I haven't forgot.
Yeah. Let's look at all
Yeah,
the picture.
but what happens is they get so clouded on the negativity, and they
Right.
celebrate it, that they don't not paying attention to any of the actual facts about what getting help can do, what getting help has done for other people in the past. Yeah, have other people reach rock bottom and got themselves into a criminal element, a criminal
Sure.
charge? Yes. Does that normally mean that they won't have a job? Yes. Does that have anything to do with that person reaching out for help and getting help? No. But
Exactly.
but we will equate that
Yes.
with getting in trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I'll hope to get off the soapbox here about the proactiveness, though, Chris. But I think that's, and what's that look like? It may look a little bit different for you and your agency. It might look different for me and my old agency. But I think just sitting on our hands waiting for something bad to happen just makes it very stagnant, and it doesn't kind of create exactly what you were talking about, Chris. Is like, okay, we've checked all the boxes. Now what? Well, be present. And what's being present
Yeah.
look like? Show up at things that you wouldn't normally show up at. Be that person, that familiar face at the critical incident, not the person that they're like, oh shit, now I got to go talk to these guys about
Right.
this incident. They should be happy to see you.
Yeah.
I think I just, and maybe it's a personality trait or something like that, Chris. But I just think that in order to build trust and legitimacy with any program, you got to be present, and you've
Hmm.
got to be almost to a fault in the faces of everybody.
Yeah. Well, you also have to show that you're. I mean, you can't be the one talking about it,
Right,
but not doing it yourself.
right,
I mean, you can't do that
right,
because that throws your credibility right out the freaking window.
right,
Like they're gonna look at you and go, "Oh, Chief's telling me it's fine if I don't feel good, but you know what? But I know he's fucking screwed up.
right,
Like he ain't doing it himself.
right,
Like so, what's he gonna do to me if I go say, oh, Chief, like I'm having an issue?"
right,
Or I'm having a problem, or, but it's not to say that if you're the boss that you're not going to help them. It's going to say that you're kind of not putting your money where your
mouth is.
mouth is, so they're less likely to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like modeling. So, like modeling behavior, right? So, in any leadership, like that's the goal, right? That you want to model. You want your
Yeah,
folks to model your behavior, right? So, if you model yourself in a certain way, your hope that is that 98% of your troops are doing right by you just based on how you model yourself. Should
hmm,
be no different in this space. Should be
right.
no different.
Well, sure. How did we get here, though, Reggie? Look at it like when I first got it, when I first got to a point where I was being a supervisor. Now that I look back on things now and go, you know what, I was an asshole. You know why? Because the people who were before me taught me how to be that asshole.
Right,
And until I could see that, or until people actually, got the balls or to come up to me and go, Chief, you're really being a jerk.
right,
Like, and you're like, I didn't even realize it because you just do it.
right,
And to your point, that we were modeling ourselves after what we were taught or how we were doing. That goes to the thing that we always bring up, like the suck it up thing. Like that's because that's what we were.
right.
The day we sat in the car next to whoever the
That
FTO
was it.
was, they were like, drive the fucking car. Don't do anything until I tell you to, and shut the hell up.
Right.
And if you seen something and went, man, that was crazy, they're like, put your big boy pants on. We're going on to the next freaking call.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
You hear
I
that
say,
every day.
yeah, I say it all the time. Like I never got the stigma class in the academy, but it was just one of those unwritten things. Nobody talked, and the minute somebody deemed you unfit to be at a scene, like that word traveled like
Yeah.
wildfire. So I mean, it was just I don't know. I look back on it, and it's almost like doing middle school all over again, because you're trying to build credibility in the sixth grade, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
by the
Yeah.
time you get to the eighth grade, you've already got that credibility built up. But what didn't come without some hazing or bullying or a
Yeah.
combination
Yeah.
of two
Or
along the way. No, I mean, those are just my personal takes.
mhm.
And it comes from experience. I get to talk to a lot of agencies on a daily basis as to what they're doing, within their parameters of their financial status within their
Right.
agency. But not only that, but like what exactly, what type of trainings have you had? Are you doing continuous education? All these things. Unfortunately, a lot of folks are just getting trained up, starting their team. And, if they can get to a wellness event put on by, whether it be FBINA or IACP or some sort of wellness event, maybe within the state, then that's really it. That's really the extent of their training. So, I mean, that's another probably pending issue that might come up. Like, is there a standard, and what's that standard? And I think a lot of what are accredited like CISM teams are seeing is like quarterly trainings for their folks to kind of keep them, fresh. It's not every day you get the big event, and that's why I say show up for the ones that you wouldn't normally show up for, and you don't know how it's impacting the person that responded.
I think to your point, I mean, I've seen in the last couple of years and places that I've been or things that have happened, and one of them was a suicide of a officer who I've known for years, and it was at a department that I prior to work for, and I went there that night because it was a department I used to work for, and the guys were there, and I say that to just say this is like they were so good at handling surrounding departments, were so good at assisting and handling and putting things in place for SISM in place to get people to where they needed to be. We're so good at that event. How do we start making that so good all the time?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
how do
and
we do that?
it goes back to, being present as peers. And at the end of the day, like I said, it doesn't cost anything to be nice to somebody. I'd be a liar if I said that I liked everybody that I ever worked with or worked for.
Right.
But at the end of the day, there's a job to do, right? So
Hmm.
check that feeling at the door, and there's a job to do. But it doesn't really cost much to go, hey, I've known you, Chris, for 10 years now. What's going on? Like, you're off a little bit, but not just off a little bit with no facts behind it. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
we'll turn it into a boxing match real quick.
Yeah. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
You know what I mean? But have some facts. Have some facts to back
Yeah.
this shit up. And it's got to come from a place of facts, not feelings. And I
Hmm.
and I think I just think that those are difficult conversations to have. But I think we collectively, not only as peers, but as public safety advocates, we can do a better job of kind of showing it a little bit better.
I think I have a smaller agency, so obviously when I go into work, I see everybody
Right.
pretty much every day. And I could say when I first started doing that, everybody looked at me like, "What the hell's wrong with him?" Like, "Well, no, I'm good." But see, but it's been a while now, and now obviously my officers and my people know I do this podcast. They know I've written a book. Like they've all read it. I've given it to them all. There's nothing behind me anymore that
Right.
they don't know.
Right.
So I have that thing to go. It took a little bit, but now if I look at them and go, "Man, something's off," like, have what's going on today? And they might kind of start it, but slowly but surely they're going, yeah, I just, I had a bad night. I didn't sleep well. I didn't do it. Like I get more of that now than now, nothing, I'm good.
Right.
So you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Like even if it's uncomfortable the first few
Right.
times, like just start doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, sooner or later, it's not going to be uncomfortable for them
Well,
anymore.
let me ask you this, Chris. If, let's say, I showed up to work and me and you were partners, and you knew that I wasn't at 100%, I would venture to say I was more along the lines of 40 or 50%.
Right.
Drag ass. Are you going to have a conversation with me, or are you going to try to make it as comfortable for me as possible?
No, I'm going to have a conversation with you because I've learned that.
But to my,
Probably 15 years ago, that probably wouldn't have
and
happened.
that's what I'm going to, right? That's what I'm going to is if it becomes a matter of tactics, there's not a cop in the world that won't fucking jump in somebody's ass about
Right.
tactics, right? How to take the door, how to take, set a whatever it is, right? Fuck one of those things up and see how that sticks with you for the rest of your career, right? So
Right.
you try not to do that. Saying that, how can I now put that in the wellness space?
Well, I think, well, again, I think that's something that you have to we have to start early.
Right.
I mean, it has to be a norm. You have to make it a norm. Just like that's a norm. Just like what you're saying, like that becomes a norm. Our tactics, what we do, we don't want to screw up. We want to know that we want to be that guy that when you're talking about me, you're going, dude, I would run into through freaking fire with that dude,
Right.
and I know that I would not have a problem.
Right.
On this space, I want to know that I can call that dude about anything and he will be there for me and I will not have a
Right.
problem. That's the connection that we start to need to have.
Right.
It's, I think, Rich, to your point, I think you touched, and I didn't even think about it till we had this conversation,
See, this
dude.
is what happens.
That's why when we talk about this stuff, it kind of like, damn, he's freaking right.
Yeah.
Like we don't think about that, but now that I think about it, like I started doing that, and not just me. I know there's others out there doing that. I'm not saying I'm freaking a number one. I'm just saying I saw that I had to start doing that because that was something that was helping me also to go. But it's become a norm for me. So becoming that norm for what your agency is, like you can make that a norm. All you got to do is want to make it a norm. It's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to suck at first. People are going to look at you like you're nuts. They're going to be like, and if you've been around a while, they're going to look like that old man is getting fucking crazy. He needs to retire. So, but if you start it, if we start it somewhere, it's going to become normal, just like it did for anything else that we did. We're
Yeah.
changing the culture.
Right.
You got to change the
Right.
culture.
And when we switched over to, with my agency, whether it was switching over your weapon system, oh well, we shot this for so long, like why are we doing this, and then to your point, like it just becomes the norm, right? For some reason, this topic is so damn uncomfortable with this culture that just when we think it's becoming the norm, like we take 10 steps backwards because of the stuff that I kind of hit on before. Like
Right.
if we're hearing, third party information about some case where peer support was, put on the stand to do A, B, and C, we're going to run with the worst case scenario without actually getting what the case law says or anything like that, because it's easier for me to sit here and bitch about it and say, well, fucking throw my hands up and I quit, than it is
Mhm.
for me to put in the work to go, wow, this is bullshit. This is a one time thing, yeah, it's going to suck, but we just need to be better, when we're doing business in this capacity.
Mhm.
Okay, that's pretty easy, right? Like when you say it like
Right.
that, like it's pretty easy to go, well, yeah, that's how you should react. But I think we're so wired to react because we're react by the job that we're in,
Right.
and we try to fix. I think it's like this weird fucking flywheel, man. Because you have good you have whether it be a strong informal leader that's kind of taking this by the reins and is running with it, and then they run into leadership that buys in, and then a city management that kind of buys into the idea that taking care of their people is probably a good thing for retention and recruitment. But who am I to make that statement?
Right. Right.
But like this weird flywheel, but like people will, like, it sounds pretty damn easy, like, okay, good idea, backing of the agency executive staff, backing by city council, we're rolling, and then all of a sudden, as cops, we want to stick the proverbial stick in the spokes of that wheel and
Mhm.
go, yeah, but what if? Well, what if?
Yeah.
What if? What if? What if? What if? Because that's what we do. Like in
Mhm.
any and all situations, we'll catastrophize. We'll become the Chicken Littles of the room and say everything is,
Mhm.
is wrong. I just think that there's a space in the middle of what we're doing with keeping our peers trained and keeping them active. The clinical piece to either oversee a program. There's a middle piece that I think we're missing. Like I think, and that's those folks like yourself and myself and organizations that are out there that can be that warm handoff for folks, and maybe utilize those folks in a capacity to do so, to where that trust and legitimacy can be kind of brought to the forefront of a lot of what we're doing in this space. It's just not getting
Mhm.
15 minutes that some other people are getting.
I think that's you just made me think of something, and it just kind of, when you talk about it being easy, and we can sit here, or I can sit here and go. I mean, to me, it seems easy because I have those people that I trust around me, so I know there's individuals where I know it's not going to harm me because I chose to have that group. Like, but there's certain people that I'll look at and go, yeah, I say this too all the time, and I know that people. It's like talking to others. I go, and I think we've had this conversation. It's like the mafia.
It
It's
is.
like if you don't, it's like you don't get into this kind of this group or this tribe unless somebody from this tribe has vouched for your ass
Right.
because because there's so much out there. You're going, man, I'm treading so lightly, and being someone that's doing podcasts now for over, it's been a year in June,
Right.
and actually being out there a little more, you get approached by a lot of people, and I'm like, dude, like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not getting, no, I'm no good juju here. I might make some phone calls, and I'm being honest right up front with you people now. There might be people who have reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, hey, I'd like to be on your podcast. And I went, well, I don't really know you, and I might have touched on some people, and they went, and as soon as they go, and we're like, nah. And it's not like I'm trying. It's not like it's just you don't want to. I want people to have opinions, and I want people to help people, and I want their people to do that. But I want to be sure, and when we do that, I want to be like, I know that person is going to help somebody, because if they don't, I'm going to feel like shit. So
Right.
I think that's kind of like the process that we see. But to your point, I think that we feel sometimes it's so easy because we have them people. It's trying to help others have them people, to say that you need to take that one leap. You need to take that one shot to let someone give you that help.
Right.
And I want to make sure I'm passing you off or giving you to a person that's going to do that for you, because if that doesn't work, I'm afraid of what's going to happen after
Right.
that.
Right.
And I think that's when we get down to the nuts and bolts of what I think I get from what I read and from what you say. That's what I get from that. That's how I read it.
Yeah.
I know it's Rich telling you his way, but that's the way that I pull out of
Well,
it.
I
Is like
appreciate that. Yeah,
we,
I'm not telling anybody. I'm just, in a lot of the writings, it can come off as being angry, and I get that. But it's really doesn't. It's not. It's coming from a place of passion. To your point, Chris. It's because I actually give a fuck.
yeah,
At the end of the day, it doesn't have to be a high profile thing that getting somebody help, whatever. Like, if the phone rings, I pick it up, and if I can get that person what they need, then I'll go into the next day a little bit better than I was the day before.
well, I think you said something on the last podcast that I am going to kind of end this on. And I thought it hit me very hard, and it made a lot of sense, and it made me look at things a different ways. You'd rather lose a friend
Yeah,
than pretty much lose a friend.
yeah,
I mean, like,
yeah. I'd much
that's
rather
basically it.
listen. At the end of the day, if I know that you're alive and you're good and you're thriving
Yeah,
based on a decision that I was part of, but you don't want to talk to me anymore, I can live with that. I'm good.
yeah,
I'm good with it.
I'm with you.
I'm good with it.
I'm with you. Well, my friend, I such appreciate talking to you every time we get the
Yeah,
chance.
man.
Hope I get, I hope I get to, we get to see each other again in person very, very soon.
Yeah, yeah.
Rich is working on a lot of stuff. I'm gonna let him kind of close this out with some of what he's thinking about doing, what he's got coming up, where you can get a hold of him, and the trainings and stuff that he's working on, and then we're gonna bow out. So, Rich, you have the floor, my
Right, I
brother. It's
appreciate
all
it.
you.
I appreciate it, Chris. Like I alluded to, I've been with Lighthouse Health and Wellness for the past 3 years. We're really, I guess this will be part of the marketing portion of this, Chris. But really starting to market our training programming due to a phenomenal strategic partnership with the folks at ICISF. We've been able to send some folks through their instructor courses. As a company now can provide those courses to agencies all over the United States. You can find more information out at lighthousehealthandwellness.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm not that difficult to find. Yes, that is my real name. Yes, I've missed some sort of occupation I probably could have had in my younger years. But yeah, I'm not that hard to find. Please reach out. Not only for that, I'm also on the board for Blue Cancer Connect. I know Chris and I kind of share almost an eerily identical path when it comes to
Yeah.
this topic. So we both kind of breathe life into Blue Cancer Connect here on the East Coast for Vicky Speed, who's doing phenomenal things with that organization.
Yes.
Much with the mission. If you're in the market if you're a retiree that has diagnosis and looking for a service dog, reach out to me. If you're an agency looking to place a facility dog into your existing peer program to add it as a tool, reach out to me. We're doing a lot of great work with a lot of great agencies throughout the United States, placing these phenomenal canines into agencies and really getting those conversations that you and I were talking about started, Chris. So obvious, my boys, Trauma Behind the Badge. I promise we're coming back. Probably bigger, probably better. We just got to get it on board the same schedule. It's always like this time of year. Hopefully we can get some stuff rolling in the fall. And then last but not least, but Survive First as an advisory board member there, our mission is when we're not going to let somebody kind of go to the wayside because they can't find help. So please reach out to me. I'm a resource for you. You can always look forward. I tell people I'm a halfway decent follow on LinkedIn. So you'll either love what you're seeing from me or you'll just unfollow me. And either way, I'm okay with that.
Good. Rich, man, I love you, brother. I thank you for taking the time, my friend.
You got it, buddy.
And hey, we will see each other soon.
Sounds good. Take care, Chris.
Take care.
You've been listening to the Deep Blue Project. As a father, husband, friend, and someone who loves to chat about anything and everything, Chris brings over 3 decades of public service experience to the table. With a background in firefighting and law enforcement, along with degrees in criminal justice and behavioral science, he's seen it all, and he's learned a thing or two along the way. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on LinkedIn and X at Deep Blue Project. Find our website at deepblueproject.com, and to reach out, send an email to deepblueproject@outlook.com. Keep keeping it real, and we'll see you next time on the Deep Blue Project.